one precursor to this idea of building your career and building your career trajectory. Don't wait until that role opens up and hope someone will figure out that you are worthy of it. Go in early and say, I want you to know that I'm interested in growing my career here, and any opportunities that present to do more for the organization and take a more invested position in our strategic future, I want to be included in. And I might say, that's amazing. There's nothing that looks like that at this exact moment, but I'm going to keep my eyes open for those opportunities. And I'm so grateful that you told me that you'd like to be considered. I might have missed you. Like, some of this whole process is raising your hand early on the lower end of your trajectory and saying, don't forget me. I'm willing to bust my ass for the organization, and I'm here and I want to be considered.
Would you come in with metrics and statistics to show what you've done?
Yes, and yes. It would be immediately followed, more importantly for me, is how you did it. And the reason I want to hear that is I want to understand the innovation behind what you're doing. I want to understand where you're taking your cues from. I want to understand if you're doing outside study, what your professional and personal growth looks like. Those would be woven in there. Well, I read a book. I took a class. I listened to a podcast called, and I tried some of these tools that they suggested, and it exploded. The other thing that I'm going to be listening for too is bullshit. If you hadn't actually done it, but you were borrowing something, but you didn't actually execute it, then I would be able to tell that. And even roles that are a little bit more subjective in nature, I could argue that every single job has a metric attached to it.
Let's talk about one that is not sales. I'm going to give you one because I'd love to hear your answer.
Sure.
In our business, we have project managers. It's not commission based. It's not, revenue. So we don't live and die by the numbers as project managers. How would you show up if you don't have these like black and white revenue goals, or what are you showing up with to show your value?
So some metrics I would pull out. In general, the number of projects that I managed at any one time, the number of customers I was responsible for. I'd be speaking to my capacity, my ability to multitask. If I felt like that was a trait that you valued or was valued in the role called project manager, I'd have 5 or 6 metrics that I thought were important. I might talk about how I started in the company with just 5 responsibilities and I grew to 25, meaning I'm capable of 5x the production once I get up to stride. I might tie to those the revenue increases or the revenue that I was responsible for.
You don't have to be in sales. You can be in any position and pull out the value you brought. And it might not be black and white numbers, but any position you were able to figure those things out. And you just have to, sometimes it might take a little bit of creativity, but think through it and prepare, because they're all there inside every job role.
Right. There are many accomplishments every day.
For sure.
Right. And some of those are momentary, and some of those are weeks, and some of those are months, and some of those are decades, right? I mean, we just recently got awarded a patent. That was a 20-year journey. But that's one, if you were like, Mick, tell me about your accomplishments. Yeah. That would be part of my 20-year journey that I would be talking about. So yeah, all part of it. I think that accomplishments piece, even albeit not 100% metric in spots, is what you'd be looking to pull out and present, and then build a story around how you did it, where you started, where you ultimately ended up, and what you did between here and there. I want someone close to me as part of my most direct team that is consistent, and I have a pretty good idea what to expect from them. And I don't mean that in a boring way. I mean that in a reliable way. That engenders trust. There's so many other words for me that come out of consistency that I think that would be something, if I was looking at someone's work, I would want to see this thread of consistency woven throughout their entire career and track record.
I'm talking about the consistency in the quality of work. I'm talking about consistency in the way someone shows up. I'm talking about consistency in their attitude. Are they generally speaking very positive? Are they a good teammate? Are they supportive? All of that falls into that consistency category. Figured out factor for me is exhausting all resources. Is that, I'll let you, what is it? How do you exhaust all resources?
Yeah, exhausting all resources and attempting everything else before you would come to me for the answer. And doing it in a somewhat exhaustive way, not inefficient, right? Where you start checking boxes on looking for the sake of looking, where you've truly used all of your tools. And here's the thing that's so different now. The toolbox is massive. You know, I will tell you that as a younger professional, I tapped out pretty quick. You know, I mean, short of getting an encyclopedia, I'm old enough that when I was in my early 20s, you didn't have all of these resources laying down served up by a phone or some type of a device. So I will tell you that I tapped out very quickly and would be in front of someone saying, I need help. You know, I need help. So at least for me in that figured out factor, and if we're going back to demonstrating that, it would be that you would have been doing and trying every single thing you could. And then at some point you would even transition into anticipating those needs too. But that's what figured out factor means for me.
Getting a lot done on their own, but not in a way that is reckless because they didn't want to ask the question or be a burden or let their ego get in the way. So they ask the question when it needs to be asked, but they've already answered questions A through M. They've gotten there. They just need that last question that they can't get on Google or anywhere else to get it across the finish line. I would love to know if you're coming, especially internally, and you do understand the way the organization works, is coming to the table with innovations or changes that you would make in that role for the betterment of the company.
Yeah.
That would be something that that would be high value to me. And how you would, even a step further, how you would go about implementing it in an ideal world.
I love that one. I'll tell you why. Because let's just say you're now vying for the role and you're interviewing with one of us. There's been someone between us the whole time. I might have heard bits and pieces of your ideas, but this is your opportunity, your showcase to tell me all of the things that you've been saying that you thought were amazing that your former dumb boss wouldn't let through the filter to me.
Right.
And that would be an opportunity to present that.